Okay, we're going to look at analyzing some polynomial functions. So far we've graphed equations. What we've learned on it so far is that the lead coefficient tells you what's happening at the right hand end. When you get big X's, if your lead coefficient is positive, the right end is going to go up. If it's negative, it's going to go down at that end. And the degree of your polynomial tells you about the left end. Does it match the right end? And that's if it's an even degree. Or is it the opposite? And the opposite is if it's an odd degree. Okay? And then we're taking a look at factors to zeros, to x-intercepts, to solutions. They're all closely related concepts. When you can factor your polynomial and it looks something like x minus 3, x plus 2, x plus 4, that gives you your zeros. So then x would equal 3, negative 2, and negative 4 for your zeros. Okay? And that's going to be your x-intercepts. It's going to be your solutions if you set your equation equal to 0 instead of f of x. They all are closely related concepts, so sometimes we interchange the words. Probably not a good habit, but we do that. Okay, so if you've got your factors, then you can plot your intercepts. And if I want a lot of accuracy, I am going to use Desmos or my graphic calculator. So part 2, I don't do real often, except I always do x equals 0. Okay? But if I have zeros at negative 2, 1, and 4, then I'm going to definitely put a 0 in and see what's happening. I always check out my end behavior, both the right end and the left end. And I draw a smooth curve. Now, when I graph this, and again, if I want a lot of accuracy, I would use Desmos. So, like I said, if my zeros are at 2, 1, and 4, and my y-intercept is up here at 3, my end behavior is positive, that might be all the accuracy I look for. So sometimes when I say draw a smooth curve through the points you plotted, I mean a smooth curve, but a lot of times step 2 goes on the wayside. Except I always do x is 0. I always look at my end behavior. Okay, let's practice a couple. All right, so if I look at this, this is an x, this would be x squared, so really I have x to the 4th. So my ends are both even. My lead coefficient is 1/2, so I know it's going up this end and up this end. That's supposed to be an arrow. Okay. I've got my zeros, my x-intercepts. Okay, here, if x is negative 3, I have 0. Here, if x is 2, I've got 0. Here, if x is negative 1, I got 0, but it's squared. So that's a double root or double 0, or however you want to mark it so you know it's double. So I got negative 3, negative 1 is a double, and 2. And now I'm going to put 0 in. When I put 0 in, I have 1/2 times 3 times negative 2 times 1 squared. Okay, I don't know about you, but I think that's negative 3. Do you agree? All right, so here's my negative 3. Now let's take a look. I know it's going up to the right. Okay, I know it's going up to the left, and that's a double. So when I hit a double, it bounces off the line, because what happens when you square a negative, it's positive. So when you are to the left and it's negative number, so if you have negative 2 in here, negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. When you square it, it's 1. If I put 0 in for x, it's also going to be 1. And that's why it's the same both on the left and the right. So anytime you have a double root, a double zero, a double intercept, it's going to bounce. And that's a general idea of what it's going to look like. Now, if I were to put this on Desmos, who knows? It might, you know, it might be a lot steeper. It might come down further. You know, it still has to go through this point. So this end is wrong. But it might not be exactly what I have. But I have a good idea what it should look like. That's what I want you to learn. I want you to learn to look at this and say, oh, these are my zeros. This is a double. I know my end behavior. It's going to look something like this. Does it have to be exact? No. Okay, here's another one. Okay, my lead coefficient is -2. I got zeros at 3, and that's a double zero, and -2. So 3 is a double, and -2. It's a cubic. If I were to expand it, it's going to be something x cubed. My lead coefficient being negative means this is going down this way. Cubic, the ends are opposite. I've got a pretty good idea what this is going to look like. Now, do you notice what I did not do? And I want you to do it, so I'm going to go back and put it in. I'm going to put 0 in for x. So I'll have -2 times -3 squared times 2. And to me, that looks like -36. Okay, you could check up on me, I might be wrong. I think it's -36. So this has to go down much further, and I don't have enough room. But if I were to draw this or see it on Desmos, you know, here's my -2, here's my +3, down way down here is going to be my -36. But it's going to look something like that, but I have to realize that the y-intercept is at -36. And it makes it so much easier to agree with. If you were to try some other values, like if you were to try 1 or 4, you would still get negative numbers. So go ahead and check those out if you'd like. Okay. The turning points. Okay? The turning points is where the graph changes from increasing to decreasing. That's going to be either your highest or lowest point. Okay, so when you have this cubic and it graphs look something like that, this is one turning point. This is another turning point. This would be a local maximum. This would be a local minimum. We just call them max and min. It's not the highest or lowest point on the entire function. It's just the highest and lowest point in a short range of numbers. So maybe just in that part, it's the highest and the lowest. I'd like to remind athletes that if you're the best student on your team, that doesn't make you the best student in the state or the country. Okay? Keeps you a little humble. But it's an idea of being a local maximum, being the local best, doesn't mean it's the highest point on the graph. Okay. The other thing that we talk about eventually is concave up versus concave down. Okay, concave down means that if this was a cup, would it pour it out or would it hold the water? Well, this is going to pour out, this pour out, this would hold it up. So this would be concave up, this would be concave down. Okay, so this is concave down, this would be concave up. And there is a point of inflection is where it switches from concave up to concave down. Okay. The turning points of polynomial functions. The graph of every polynomial function of degree n has at most n minus 1 turning points. So if it's a cubic, it might look like this. Here's one turning point, here's the second. Okay, if it has degree 4, okay, it will have at most 3 turning points. 1, 2, 3. Okay. If it has 4 distinct zeros, okay, so now if we look just at the zeros, okay, it's going to have n minus 1 turning points. So it's turning from going down to up to down to up. Okay. Same with the second one. It has 3 distinct zeros. It's got 2 distinct turning points. I wish it would tell you how to find them. It doesn't, because most of the time they're irrational numbers. Okay, so we graph this on a calculator and find our x-intercepts and local max and min. So we're going to pause. I'm going to get Desmos up. We're going to try this. All right, so we're going to graph it, find the x-intercepts and the local max and mins. So I graphed it. Okay, here's my x-intercept. It's at negative 1 point almost 2. This looks like a max, 0.6. This looks like a minimum, 2.2. Okay, now some people want the minimum to be the minimum height, so it'd be a 2. They wouldn't talk about it being the point, they would talk about the other. So notice it has only one x-intercept, one max, and one min. Notice the 2 turning points, and that's what they're showing you. The turning points are the max and min. Okay. So the x-intercept was that negative 1.1960. The max was 0.6, and the minimum was the 2.2. And again, some people would say the max value was 6, the min value was 2. Okay. Here's another one. Let's graph this one too. Okay, I put it on Desmos. Notice it's not very pretty. Okay, just over 5, 1.8, about 0.3, and negative 1.14. Okay, what happens when we pull this in? Okay, so here's a minimum. Here's a maximum. Way down there, huh? And there's a minimum. So you could find them using your Desmos. Okay, how come it's not working now? There we go. So we can find those points using our tools, our technology. There you go, spread it out nice and big. Okay, there's our y-intercept, that helps. And here's our x-intercepts. We can't see the last one. There it is, almost 5. Well, that's how we could do it. We can graph it, we can find our intercepts, we can find our max and mins. Okay, what do you think about this problem? A package company wants to make the maximum volume for a box that's formed from a piece of cardboard. To make the bottom, they use a piece of cardboard that is 16 by 24. So originally it's 16 by 24. Okay, and then they are cutting corners out. So let's cut the corners out. And they're all size the same, so we're going to call them all X. So when we fold it up to make our box, okay, I'm not an artist, but here we go. This X height would be X, but do you see this is going to be 16 minus 2X? And this would be 24 minus 2X because you have to take it to both ends. And when you find the volume, you've got to take the length times the width times the height. Now, there really is no reason that you have to multiply those together. Put that on your calculator. You're looking for the maximum volume. So what are you going to look for when you graph it? You're going to look for the highest point. Okay? Should be going up that way. You're going to be looking for this, or if it goes down, you're just going to